The sun was sinking like a burning coin behind the jagged mesas of the Arizona frontier, stretching long shadows over the open desert as the heat of the day finally loosened its grip. And on that dying light rode Colton Hayes, quiet, seasoned, alone. A man who'd seen more sorrow than most folks twice his age, though he carried it all behind the calm of a rancher who knew that out here, survival came down to grit, mercy, and a man's ability to look tragedy in the eye without flinching. His horse, a coal-black mare named Mercy, kicked up thin coils of dust along the winding trail, and Colton's sharp gaze scanned the barren wasteland ahead the way only someone who'd lived too long under the threat of ambushes, storms, and sudden death could, but nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared him for the sight he stumbled upon as the last band of sunlight washed across the valley. A woman lying motionless in the sand, her prairie dress torn, her hair matted and scattered across the dune, as if the desert wind had tried to carry her away. And kneeling beside her was a tiny girl, no older than 7 or 8, hugging a ragged doll to her chest, her face streaked with dust and tears, her voice shaking the quiet as she sobbed in a way that cracked Colton's heart wide open, because it wasn't the loud kind of crying but the broken, exhausted kind that only comes after hours of fear and desperation. He slowed his horse, eyes narrowing, instincts sharp. This wasn't the type of place travelers stopped unless something terrible had gone wrong. And as he approached, the girl's head snapped up, her wide blue eyes filled with something between terror and defiance, and she scrambled to place her small body between him and the woman in the dirt, arms spread out like a frightened cub, protecting its mother from a wolf. And Colton's breath caught as she shouted, voice shaking but determined, "Don't touch her! I'm guarding her," Mama said. Mama said not to let nobody near her, words that stabbed the air with a child's desperate courage. And seeing her standing there barefoot, dress torn, hair wild, clutching that doll as if it were the last piece of her world left, Colton felt something shift deep inside him, something he hadn't felt in years, since before the fire that took his wife and son, since before he'd built protective walls around his heart tall, enough to choke his own humanity. But watching this little girl trembling in the dying light, he felt that old ache awaken, the one that told him the world was unforgiving. But a man didn't have to be. Slowly he raised his hands to show he meant no harm, speaking in the calm voice he used to soothe colts and skittish cattle. "Easy there, sweetheart. I ain't here to hurt you." But the girl shook her head wildly, tears spilling again as she pressed her hands to her mother's still shoulder, and choked out, "She won't wake up. I tried and tried. I kept the birds away and the coyotes and I stayed right here like she said." And Colton's stomach tightened as he realized she meant it, this little thing. Had been there for hours, maybe longer, fighting off whatever the desert threw at her alone and terrified, but refusing to abandon the woman who had protected her in life and now lay helpless in death. He climbed off Mercy, stepping slowly, careful not to startle her, but the girl held firm, trembling like a leaf but refusing to move. And something in her bravery broke him open, made him soften in a way he thought he'd lost the ability to. So he crouched down a few feet away and said gently, "I'm real sorry about your mama. What's your name, kiddo?" But the girl hesitated, clutching the doll tighter, eyes darting to his gun as though she'd seen enough of the world, all ready to know what danger looked like, finally whispering, "Lila. Mama called me Lila, but you stay back, you can't take her away from me." And the way she said it, raw, protective, desperate, sent a painful throb through Colton's chest because he knew what she didn't. The woman was long gone, her skin pale and cold, her chest unmoving, her lips parted as though her last breath had been spent begging the heavens to keep her child safe. While the girl trembled by her mother's side, Colton glanced at the tracks around them, faint wagon wheels, boot prints, a set of broken crates, signs of a small caravan that must have been ambushed or lost in a storm, maybe bandits, maybe something else. But whatever happened, the group had moved on and left the dead behind, except for this one girl who refused to leave her mother, even if the desert burned her alive. Colton took a slow breath and said, "Lila, your mama wouldn't want you staying out here alone. It ain't safe. Night's coming, and the desert gets cold enough to freeze bone." But she shook her head hard, crying again. I promised her I'd guard her till the angels came." And Colton's throat tightened. What kind of world forced a child to make promises like that? So he tried again, voice aching, Sweetheart, the angels already came. They took her home. You don't gotta guard her anymore. And Lila's sob ripped through the air like a knife, her little body collapsing over her mother as she cried into the fabric of the woman's dress. And Colton waited, letting her grief flow because rushing it would only deepen the wound. And after a long moment, she lifted her head and whispered, "If I leave her, she'll be alone." And that was the moment something inside Colton shattered completely. He walked closer, slow but steady, and gently draped his coat over the woman's still form to give her dignity, then looked at Lila and said with quiet finality, "She ain't alone, kid. I'll make sure she ain't." And the girl blinked up at him through tears, confused, hurting, lost, and he extended his hand toward her, rough, calloused, steady, then spoke the words that would change both their lives. "You're coming with me, kid." Lila stared at his hand for what felt like